Hey, all right, I'm just making a quick presentation, especially for Anya and Naz in case we have any connection issues, to go over everything you need to know for launch day. Preparing for launch day. Okay, let's just review the goals of our unit. Build a rocket, one for each of you, mass the rocket, measure how heavy it is, launch the rocket, and measure the height achieved. And then we want to collect data from your rocket launch and everyone else's rocket launch and share it and compare it. So how to get the mass, how to measure the mass. You have a small scale in your kit, or I have one for you, depending on where you are. Just turn on your scale, make sure it says grams, hit mode, hit the mode button. If not, it's one of these 3 buttons. Grams is a small g, you'll see a small g. It should be in grams. Place your rocket on the scale, record the measurement, turn off your scale. Do this whole process a few times to make sure you keep getting the same numbers, to make sure it seems like it's making sense, and then you'll have accurate data. You're going to use this sheet to record your information, and let's look at that together. Right over here, if you click that link, it's right over here. It'll be on the Canvas page. Other people building, you know this because I've put that information up on our Canvas page as well as in the assignments. So put in your mass of your rocket. So I will measure the mass 3 times, mass 1, mass 2, mass 3, and then you can average those numbers. Sounds good. This section you'll fill out a little later, and this section you can fill out now. So you all can do this. You can either make a copy and do it electronically, or you can print it out and do it on paper and then take a picture of it. Okay, where were we? Oh yeah, mass data, how to share. Eventually we will be sharing our data in a shared Google Doc. I think you might have seen the slides. It looks a lot like this. So anyone who's in Richards, say if they were in the Vikings, they'd put their name and they'd write down the mass that their rocket was. And then we'll have everybody's data, and so everyone can share it. This should be good. Okay, so what will launch look like? So basically you're gonna have to have somebody with the altitude tracker standing a certain distance away, watching your rocket to see how high it gets. So we're gonna need these crazy 30-meter measuring tapes to make sure that we're 30 meters away. You're gonna need your launch controller and your launch pad and your rocket and your engine and all the other stuff. So launchers, you need to know how to use the launch controller. If you're the one who's gonna be pressing the button, you need to know how to use the launch controller. You need to wait until everybody is ready, then you put your pin in and you press the button. Remember the presentation I put on yesterday's page had a lot of videos for how to make sure everything works well. Plus, I am either talking to your parents or I'm going to help you in person to make sure this is successful. Okay, altitude trackers. If your job is to do the altitude tracking, then you need to stand 30 meters away, so you need to measure 30 steps away. And we're going to use these to measure that distance correctly. If you don't have access to one of these, you could use something else to measure the distance. Or just do your best and take 30 steps. That'll be fine too. And then someone needs to take an altitude tracker and aim it up at their rocket and watch it. And when it gets to the highest point, they'll get that data. In school, we're going to try to have at least 4 people doing this because it's nice to get more measurements. Just like with mass, when I say do it 4 times, make sure you're comfortable. With this, we're going to try to get 4 people to do those measurements. Awesome. So those are all the things that we need. Then you have one other job, which is a recorder. Now this is really important when you have a whole class full of students all at once because things can get a little wild when everyone's so excited about the rocket launches. So we need to have at least one person who has a clipboard, the recorder paper, which this is the recorder paper, and a pencil. And so that person's job is to make sure, hey, I know it's super exciting that you got these measurements, but let's be sure to write them down so we don't lose them. So they're basically gonna be writing down, okay, it was Naz's rocket and the first angle measurement that May got was 30, and then I saw Julie got one that was 31, and then another one got one that was 29. And so we're getting all these measurements and we're gonna write them all down, and later we can average them and try to deal with them. For now, let's just write them down so we don't forget them. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So that's everything I wanted to go over for launch day. If you have more questions, I'm always open to an email or we can talk about it, but I thought this might be really helpful just so you get a big picture. Remember, for launch day, we really do need to make sure somebody's measuring the height. So they have to be the right distance away. They have to be ready. And they have to feel good about using that altitude tracker. So, rock on. Set, and bye now. Stop recording.